The clock is ticking. While you're sitting there rehearsing your pain, someone with twice your problems is building an empire. While you're perfecting your excuses, someone who started with less is finishing first. While you're waiting for the world to understand your struggle, someone who doesn't speak your language is taking your opportunity. The harsh truth that nobody wants to tell you is this: nobody cares about your struggle. Not your employer, not your customers, not the marketplace, not even most of your friends. They care about what you can do despite your struggles. They care about the value you bring, not the baggage you carry. The world is not going to slow down because you had a rough childhood. The marketplace is not going to lower its standards because you faced discrimination. Success is not going to come knocking at your door because you have a compelling sob story. The harsh reality is that while you're busy explaining why you can't, someone else with twice your problems is busy showing why they can. Your obstacles are not special passes to mediocrity. They are the raw materials for your greatness. Right now, someone is waking up at 4 a.m. to work on their dreams while battling cancer. Someone is building a business while raising 3 kids alone. Someone is getting their degree while working 2 jobs and caring for elderly parents. They don't have time to tell you about their struggles because they're too busy conquering them. They understand a fundamental truth that has escaped you. Life responds to deserve, not to need. The moment you understand that your struggles are not your identity, you begin the journey from victim to victor. The moment you stop seeking sympathy and start seeking solutions, you transform from a liability into an asset. The world doesn't owe you understanding. You owe the world your contribution. Your pain is not your prison unless you choose to live there. Everyone you admire, everyone you consider successful, everyone who has made a significant impact on this world has a story that would make your struggles look like minor inconveniences. But here's what separates them from the masses. They refused to let their story become their excuse. They understood that explanations don't pay bills, excuses don't build empires, and sympathy doesn't create legacy. Your employer doesn't wake up wondering about your personal challenges. They wake up wondering if you can solve their business problems. Your customers don't care if you had a flat tire this morning. They care if you can deliver the service they're paying for. The economy doesn't adjust itself to accommodate your limitations. It rewards those who transcend them. This isn't cruelty, this is reality. And the sooner you accept this reality, the sooner you can start using it to your advantage. Because when you stop expecting the world to care about your struggles, you start caring about what the world needs. When you stop looking for sympathy, you start looking for opportunities. When you stop explaining your limitations, you start exploring your possibilities. The universal truth about struggles is that everybody has them. The CEO in the corner office has struggles you know nothing about. The entrepreneur you admire battles demons you can't imagine. The athlete who seems to have it all fights battles that would crush most people. But they've learned something that you must learn. Struggles are the price of admission to greatness, not exemptions from it. Your neighbor lost a parent, got divorced, battled addiction, faced bankruptcy, dealt with depression, or overcame abuse. But you don't know their story because they're too busy living their purpose. They've discovered that the best way to honor your struggles is to not let them define you. They've learned that the greatest revenge against hardship is success. The marketplace is brutally honest. It doesn't care about your good intentions, your pure heart, or your difficult circumstances. It cares about results. It pays for performance, not for pain. It rewards solutions, not sob stories. Your paycheck is not determined by how much you've suffered, but by how much value you create. Think about it. When you go to buy groceries, do you choose the cashier based on who has the saddest story? When you need surgery, do you pick the doctor who's had the hardest life? When you're flying across the country, Do you care about the pilot's personal struggles, or do you care about their ability to land the plane safely? The world operates on competence, not compassion. This isn't to say that compassion doesn't exist or that people don't care at all. But compassion without competence is just pity, and pity doesn't pay bills. Sympathy without solutions is just emotional entertainment. The world might feel sorry for you, but it won't reward you for being pitiful. The most dangerous place you can live is in the comfort of other people's sympathy. When you become addicted to the attention that comes from sharing your struggles, you unconsciously create more struggles to share. You become a professional victim, an expert in explaining why you can instead of discovering how you can. Every time you tell your sob story, you rehearse your limitations. Every time you seek sympathy, you strengthen your identity as a victim. Every time you use your past as an excuse, you mortgage your future. You're not healing, you're rehearsing. You're not processing, you're advertising. You're not moving forward, you're building a monument to your pain. The deception of seeking sympathy is that it feels like progress when it's actually paralysis. It feels like you're doing something when you're actually avoiding everything. It feels like connection when it's actually isolation. Because while everyone might listen to your story once, they'll avoid you the second time. While they might feel sorry for you today, they feel burdened by you tomorrow. Personal responsibility is not a burden. It's the ultimate power. When you take responsibility for your life, you take control of your life. When you stop blaming others, you start becoming better. When you own your outcomes, you can change your outcomes. The moment you accept that you are the author of your story, you can start writing a better chapter. Nobody is coming to save you. This is not bad news. This is the best news you'll ever hear. Because if nobody is coming to save you, then nobody can stop you from saving yourself. If you're not waiting for rescue, you can start your own recovery. If you're not dependent on others, you can become dependable for others. Your circumstances are not your conclusion. Where you are is not where you have to stay. What happened to you is not what has to keep happening to you. Your history is not your destiny unless you keep repeating it. The only thing standing between you and your dreams is the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't achieve them. The moment you stop blaming is the moment you start becoming. Blame is the luxury of the powerless. Responsibility is the price of the powerful. When you blame, you give away your power to change. When you take responsibility, you take back your power to create. The world is not interested in your needs, it's interested in your value. It doesn't respond to what you lack, it responds to what you offer. The marketplace doesn't pay you for having problems, it pays you for solving problems. Your struggles don't make you special, your solutions do. Think about the most successful people you know. They didn't succeed because they had fewer problems than you. They succeeded because they focused on creating value despite their problems. They understood that the world is not a charity, it's an exchange. You get what you give, not what you need. Your struggles are not your resume. Nobody hires you because you've suffered. They hire you because you can produce. Nobody promotes you because you've had it hard. They promote you because you make things better. Nobody invests in you because you're needy. They invest in you because you're valuable. The value creation principle is simple. Stop focusing on what you've been through and start focusing on what you can do. Stop advertising your pain and start advertising your potential. Stop seeking sympathy and start providing solutions. Stop being a consumer of compassion and start being a creator of value. When you shift from need to value, everything changes. Doors that were closed begin to open. Opportunities that were hidden become visible. Resources that were scarce become available. Not because the world suddenly cares about your struggles, but because you suddenly care about the world's needs. Breaking the victim mentality is not about denying your pain or pretending your struggle don't exist. It's about refusing to let them become your identity. It's about recognizing that while you may have been a victim of circumstances, you don't have to remain a victim of mindset. The patterns of self-pity are seductive because they offer comfort without change. They allow you to feel justified in your inaction. They provide an explanation for your lack of results. But they also guarantee that nothing will ever get better. Self-pity is a luxury you can afford if you want to succeed. Learned helplessness is a psychological condition where you believe that nothing you do matters, so you stop trying. It's the result of repeated failures or trauma. But here's the truth. Learned helplessness can be unlearned. Programmed defeat can be reprogrammed. Conditioned failure can be reconditioned. The shift from why me to what now is a pivot point of transformation. Why me keeps you stuck in the past. What now propels you into the future. Why me seeks explanations. What now seeks solutions. Why me is the question of victims. What now is the question of victors. Look at the success stories nobody wanted to hear. The immigrant who built a fortune despite not speaking the language. The single mother who became a CEO while raising 3 kids. The disabled athlete who broke world records. The abuse survivor who became a healer. Their struggles weren't less than yours. Their focus was different from yours. Let me tell you about the janitor who studied law books during his night shifts and became a judge. Nobody cared that he mopped floors for 10 years. They cared when he started changing lives from the bench. Let me tell you about the woman who lost her sight but developed a technology company that helps millions see better. Nobody cared about her blindness. They cared about her vision. These people understood something profound. Your struggles are your university, not your cemetery. They are your training ground, not your burial ground. Every setback was a setup for a comeback. Every obstacle was an opportunity in disguise. Every closed door was redirection to a better door. What made them different? They refused to let their struggles become their identity. They understood that obstacles are not stop signs, they're guidelines. They knew that difficulties are not dead ends, they're detours. They recognize that problems are not permanent, they're passing. These successful people had something in common. They took action over complaint. While others were explaining why they couldn't, they were exploring how they could. While others were seeking sympathy, they were seeking solutions. While others were advertising their limitations, they were expanding their capabilities. Building your value despite your struggles is not about waiting for perfect conditions. It's about creating perfect commitment. It's about developing skills while dealing with difficulties. It's about growing stronger while going through storms. It's about becoming better while battling barriers. Consider this. Every skill you develop during struggle has double the value. The degree you earn while working 2 jobs is worth more than the degree earned in comfort. The business you build while overcoming personal challenges has stronger foundations than one built in ease. The character you develop in the fire is more refined than character developed in comfort. The struggles are your competitive advantage if you use them right. They've taught you resilience that can't be learned in a classroom. They've given you perspective that can't be bought with money. They provided you with strength that can't be developed in a gym. They've equipped you with empathy that can't be taught in a seminar. But here's the key. You must mine the gold from the dirt. You must extract the lessons from the pain. You must derive the wisdom from the wounds. You must harvest the strength from the struggle. Your difficulties are raw materials, but you must be the refinery that transforms them into value. Preparation matters more than explanation. While you're explaining why you're not ready, someone else is getting ready despite not being ready. While you're waiting for your struggles to end before you begin, someone else is beginning despite their struggles. Excellence is not the absence of obstacles, it's the triumph over them. Creating excellence in the midst of chaos is the hallmark of greatness. It's studying for your degree while working night shifts. It's building your business while battling illness. It's developing your skills while dealing with dysfunction. It's not about having ideal conditions, it's about creating ideal commitment. The discipline of daily improvement doesn't wait for your struggles to subside. It demands that you grow in the midst of them. It requires that you develop despite them. It insists that you advance through them. Your struggles are not stop signs. They're gym equipment for your character. Leadership begins with self. Before you can lead others, you must lead yourself. Before you can manage others, you must manage yourself. Before you can inspire others, you must inspire yourself. And self-leadership is most critical when you're facing struggles. Leading yourself through struggles means setting standards for yourself that exceed your circumstances. It means requiring more from yourself than your situation suggests. It means demanding excellence from yourself despite your difficulties. It means being your own best coach when you feel like your own worst enemy. Self-management is the highest form of leadership because it's the hardest form of leadership. It's easier to tell others what to do than to tell yourself. It's simpler to hold others accountable than to hold yourself accountable. It's more comfortable to demand from others than to demand from yourself. Creating internal standards that exceed external expectations means that your struggles become irrelevant to your performance. You don't lower your standards because your life is hard. You raise your standards to rise above your hardship. You don't excuse poor performance because of personal problems. You exceed performance despite personal problems. The power of personal accountability is that it makes you unstoppable. When you hold yourself accountable regardless of circumstances, circumstances lose their power over you. When you take responsibility despite difficulties, difficulties lose their grip on you. When you own your outcomes regardless of obstacles, obstacles become stepping stones. But here's what most people don't understand about accountability. It's not about blame, it's about power. When you say I am responsible, you're not saying I am to blame. You're saying I am in control. You're declaring that external circumstances cannot dictate your internal resolve. You're announcing that while you cannot control what happens to you, you absolutely control what happens in you and through you. The person who takes responsibility becomes responsible. They develop the ability to respond rather than react. They create options where others see obstacles. They find possibilities where others find problems. They discover opportunities where others discover only opposition. Every morning, you wake up with a choice. You can rehearse your struggles or you can reverse them. You can review your limitations or you can renew your determination. You can repeat your excuses or you can create your excellence. The choice is yours and nobody else can make it for you. Transforming pain into purpose is not about glorifying suffering. It's about refusing to waste it. Every struggle contains a lesson. Every pain contains potential. Every difficulty contains development. But you only extract the value when you stop focusing on the hurt and start focusing on the help. Your mess can become your message, but only after you've cleaned it up. Nobody wants to hear from someone who's still drowning. They want to hear from someone who's learned to swim. Your test can become your testimony, but only after you've passed it. Your pain can become your platform, but only after you've processed it. Using your struggles as fuel, not as anchors, means converting negative energy into positive action. It means channeling frustration into focus. It means transforming anger into ambition. It means converting disappointment into determination. Your struggles are energy. The question is whether you'll use them to move forward or stay stuck. The alchemy of converting negative experiences into positive outcomes is the highest form of human potential. It's taking what was meant to break you and using it to make you. It's taking what was meant to stop you and using it to propel you. It's taking what was meant to define you and using it to refine you. Building a legacy from the lessons of your struggles means that your pain serves a purpose greater than pity. It means that your difficulties become dividends for others. It means that your obstacles become opportunities for impact. It means that what you've overcome becomes a bridge for others to cross over. The world is not waiting for your complaints. It's waiting for your contribution. It's not interested in your excuses. It's interested in your excellence. It's not moved by your problems. It's moved by your solutions. It's not impressed by your struggles. It's impressed by your strength in spite of them. Your destiny is not determined by your difficulties. It's determined by your decisions. It's not shaped by what happens to you. It's shaped by how you respond to what happens to you. It's not defined by your struggles. It's defined by your stand against them. Stop explaining and start executing. Stop talking about what held you back and start taking steps to move forward. Stop advertising your limitations and start accessing your possibilities. Stop seeking sympathy and start seeking success. Stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being a victor over them. The final challenge is this: rise above your circumstances and create value. Not because your struggles don't matter, but because your success matters more. Not because your pain isn't real, but because your purpose is greater. Not because your difficulties are small, but because your destiny is bigger. Nobody cares about your struggles, but everybody celebrates your success. Nobody pays for your problems, but everybody pays for your solutions. Nobody rewards your explanations, but everybody rewards your executions. Nobody remembers your excuses, but everybody remembers your achievement. Your struggles are not your story, they're just the prologue. Your pain is not your purpose, it's just the process. Your difficulties are not your destiny, they're just the development. What matters is not what you've been through, but what you're going through to become who you're meant to be. The time for sympathy seeking is over. The season of excuse making has ended. The era of victim thinking must close. This is your moment to rise. This is your time to shine. This is your opportunity to show the world that while nobody cares about your struggles, everybody will care about your success. From this moment forward, let your actions speak louder than your struggles. Let your results overshadow your reasons. Let your performance outweigh your problems. Let your value eclipse your vulnerabilities. Because in the end, that's what matters. Not what you've been through, but what you've become. Not what stopped you, but what sustained you. Not what broke you, but what built you. Nobody cares about your struggles. And that's the best news you'll ever receive. Because now you can stop performing for pity and start producing for purpose. Now you can stop seeking sympathy and start creating success. Now you can stop explaining why you can't and start showing why you can. Your struggles are over. Not because your problems have disappeared, but because your perspective has changed. Not because your difficulties have diminished, but because your determination has increased. Not because your obstacles have moved, but because you have decided to move through them. You see, the greatest prison is not made of bars and walls. It's made of excuses and explanations. It's constructed from self-pity and self-doubt. It's built from the stories we tell ourselves about why we can't succeed. But today, you're breaking out of that prison. Today, you're declaring your independence from the tyranny of your past. From this moment forward, you're not a survivor, you're a thriver. You're not a victim, you're a victor. You're not explaining your limitations, you're exploring your possibilities. You're not defined by what happened to you, you're defined by what happens through you. The world needs what you have to offer. Not your pain, but your power. Not your problems, but your solutions. Not your excuses, but your excellence. Not your struggles, but your strength. The world is waiting for the gift that only you can give, the contribution that only you can make, the difference that only you can create. Remember this, struggle is not your destination, it's your transportation. It's not where you're supposed to stay, it's what you're supposed to use to get where you're going. Your pain is not your residence, it's your passage. Your difficulties are not your address, they're your access to greatness. The time has come to stop auditioning for sympathy and start performing for success. Stop interviewing for pity and start qualifying for prosperity. Stop applying for compassion and start competing for achievement. The stage is set, the opportunity is here, and the world is watching. Not to see your struggles, but to witness your success. The world doesn't care about your struggles. Thank God for that. Because if it did, you might be tempted to stay there. But since it doesn't, you're forced to grow. Since it won't reward your excuses, you're motivated to find solutions. Since it won't pay for your problems, you're inspired to create value. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your opportunity. Not to tell your story of struggle, but to write your story of success. Not to explain your pain, but to express your potential. Not to advertise your problems, but to demonstrate your power. Nobody cares about your struggles. And that's exactly why you're going to succeed.